what really happens when diversity becomes a demand, meaning that in the art world, when we're seeing happening on movies and TVs, no piece of art can be created. It's not considered valid unless there's enough diversity.
It's really hard for me to see that this whole, I don't know, diversity ideology, the need to have as much on-screen representation of every possible group, how it's affecting creators' ability to tell their own stories, because there are so many, I think, really great works of either literature or like movies, television, whatever, that people are now criticizing because there's not enough Black people, enough LGBT people, or whatever it is. And like, I'm not against diversity, if like whatever, I care about good stories, and I feel like now the emphasis isn't really on, is this piece of work meaningful, is it entertaining, does it have a message to say to us? It's just kind of, how many boxes can we check off for our cast, our director, etc., so we can be as like tolerant as possible, which doesn't necessarily make for good media.
Diversity, it is a favorite topic amongst the colours, always whining about how there isn't enough representation. There's no pleasing us far left-leaning progressives, is there? If you put a woman in your film, she had better be a woman of colour and perhaps plus-sized or have some sort of physical disability before we will even accept her. And if she doesn't have a believable character arc, well then, you've failed miserably. This isn't the video I was going to make. Actually, I don't know what video I was going to make today because I have been procrastinating for the better part of the last 13 or so hours since I woke up. So now, this is the video that's gonna happen. There's a script that I'm working on right now. I'm looking for ways to make it better because I want it to be good, of course, right? So I have this handy dandy book here. It's called Your Screenplay Sucks, 100 Ways to Make It Great by William M. Ackers. And you know, the book isn't half bad. There's some truly golden nuggets in here. But here on page 169, William says, when he's giving advice, and you know, some of the stuff he says makes sense, it's fair. He's giving advice on how to describe your character. He says, describe your main characters with concise, telling, 2 or so sentence character description. So like, quick and to the point, concise. Nice. But then, and I highlighted this because this caused me some dismay, try to leave race out of it. I'm sorry, what? Try to leave race out of it? You just want me to like leave race just like out of it? Like, what? Here's the rest of the paragraph. Try to leave race out of it, as well as height, weight, hair color, eye color, etc. If you describe a character who could only be Jude Law and Tom Cruise reads it as if and wants to be in it but thinks he's wrong for the part, imagine how high a building you're going to jump off. First of all, he says not to mention race. And then he brings up as his examples 2 affluent, cis, white male actors who could draw a crowd if they came out with a movie. I mean, Jude Law, aside from being incredibly attractive, is very, very talented. Tom Cruise, also very attractive and aging better than anyone he's ever been in a movie with. I mean, Google the actors from Top Gun if you don't believe me. And that's his example? It's like 2 white dudes? If he had said, if his examples were Idris Elba and Tom Cruise, then okay, maybe. But at the same time, if a closed mouth doesn't get fed, right? I mean, we haven't progressed a whole lot. If you look at the statistics, movies are still overwhelmingly white. Writers and directors are still overwhelmingly male and white. It's not saying that women and, women of color and just other people that aren't male and white in general aren't out there making things, but it's still overwhelmingly male and overwhelmingly white. So, if I write a script and I don't specify that my main character is African American, then how is anyone going to know unless I'm throwing tidbits into the script that are like stereotypical things that a black person would do or say, right? I would have to use stereotypes to get the point across, like, hey, my character's black. I could just say that my character's black and let them be a normal person and be who they are, whoever that may be. And I don't have to worry about someone misinterpreting my writing. I realize there's a whole other side to this argument because the Coen brothers, when they were being criticized about their choice for not casting more actors of color in Hail Caesar, they're basically just like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know how movies are made. And you can't just say, oh, I need 3 Jews and a dog or whatever, and like check off diversity boxes, which, like, I agree we shouldn't be doing that. But that's also not what people were asking. I think it is obscene to pretend that people of color just didn't exist before the 1970s or whatever. Or if we're in a movie, then like we're suddenly slaves. When it comes to Candace Owens and Lauren Chen, I mean, I rarely agree with them on anything. But I do agree with the fact that we shouldn't be shoving diversity down people's throat in order to make everyone feel seen, because then it's just going to come off forced, contrived. It won't be genuine. It won't be real. Reading that little paragraph just made me feel so sad because we mention characters' ages. We say that they're in their 30s or their 20s or their late teens. We say their gender, whether they're male or female, or if they're non-binary. So why can't we say what ethnicity they are? I feel like it's just a complicated topic, I was searching the internet for a solid answer of, should I write that my character, I name my character, I decide how old my character is and what kind of person they are, and if they work or not, and if they're nice or if they're mean. Oh, but you can't decide their ethnicity. Nope, you can't do that. So I decided to go on the internet and do a little bit of research and find out, well, what do casting directors even do? And I found one example where Marcy LaRoff says,
generally, they will specify a race, and when we release a breakdown, we say all ethnicities, unless it will change the storyline.
Unless it would change the story, they send out their casting calls with the all ethnicities sticker. But if you look at the body of work that Marcy LaRoff has done, it's overwhelmingly white. So, like, what ethnicities are coming into your audition room? Are people of color just not good at auditioning because They aren't getting the jobs. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, what's happening. I know that there's a lot of actors out there, writers, directors, who are people of color, but they're not getting the jobs. So are they not good? I'm just confused. You hear stories about, people like Steven Spielberg who used to sneak onto the back lot, and I just thought to myself, as I was riding the studio tour and listening to the guide talk about how Steven Spielberg used to sneak onto the back lot, I thought to myself, I could never get away with something like that. I would be caught and probably immediately fired. They would take my ID and shred it somehow. That's just not the way things work today. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the solution is. But I do feel that if race, ethnicity plays an integral part of the work, that it should be mentioned. If you're going to mention the main character's ethnicity, just do it. I mean, write the character that you want to write. I don't think we should be pretending that people aren't different ethnicities. This whole colorblind thing isn't helping anybody. If you don't see color, then you don't see me. And that's just the truth. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't say specifically our character is this ethnicity. They're black, they're white, they're Asian, they're whatever they are. We should just be able to say that, and it doesn't have to be the character is Asian. Why is she Asian? There has to be a reason. And I think that that's a damaging thing to say to somebody, is to nitpick their script and go, why is this character Asian? This character can't be Asian unless there's a reason for it. Why is this character black? This character can't be black unless there's a reason. And it's kind of made me paranoid as a writer, because then I start thinking, oh, well, can I not make my character black unless they're a slave or they're going through some kind of racial trauma? Can my character not be an ethnicity unless something's happening? Otherwise, we're a clean slate. I just think that the default doesn't always have to be white, because if I'm reading a book and it's not explicitly stated what someone's ethnicity is, you would just automatically assume, oh, this character is white. And maybe in a perfect world where people... Oh my God. I don't know what that was, but that was freaking scary. By the way, I live in the ghetto and it's freaking creepy. My point, if we lived in a perfect world where the default wasn't automatically white, then sure, we could write scripts that just said, Rita is snappy and rude or whatever, and we don't have to mention Rita's ethnicity. We could just look for an actor who could portray that part regardless of what ethnicity they are. But maybe that's not how things are actually being done. So, I don't know, maybe I'll write 2 versions of my script. One where I mention all the ethnicities, and then one where I don't. And we'll see how that works out for me. I don't know. What are you guys doing? I mean, if you're writing and you want to explicitly state someone's ethnicity, do you do it? Or do you do the whole vague.com thing and I'm just going to describe their character traits, and it doesn't matter what ethnicity they are, even though there's a 99.9% chance it's going to end up being played by a white person, but whatever. All right, guys. that's pretty much all I have today, and I'll see you in the next one.